ATC Orbital Vehicle Closeout Chief. He's been the crew lead, has 28 years on this team. This is an incredibly experienced and dedicated team that gets the people on the orbiter, and Travis is in charge of the whole thing. And not only is he in charge of this one, but he's in charge of the whole closeout crew. We can see here Chris Ferguson getting put into his seat, and the folks that are helping him get into his seat there are the number 2. If you can see the number 2 on him is Randy Brezhnik. He's actually a Marine Corps colonel. He's one of our astronauts. You can see him in the one screen. And Randy is actually getting on there to help out with the communications checks and all those kind of things. But the guy running the operation is Drew Billingsley, who's number 3. And you can see him kind of climbing all over there. If you look in the view there, you can see Chris Ferguson right in front of us, and kind of behind to the right, kind of leaning over, is Randy Brezhnik, number 2, and now disappeared from sight is Drew Billingsley. He's called the flight deck crew insertion technician, the one that gets him on the upstairs. Born in Santa Monica, California, and grew up in Huntington Beach. Served in the U.S. Army. He's been in this role for a long time. He was initial suit tech in STS-135 back in 1997. What they're doing as they go through here is, as Chris gets in the seat, there's probably about 9 different connections that need to be made, both to the vehicle itself as well as within his own gear there. And as you can see, we're pretty much, as astronauts, just hanging back and letting them do it. The best thing we can do is let these professionals do their job. So you can see Chris is just concentrating on getting his hands out of the way and making sure that Drew has access to what he's working over on the right there is his liquid cooling. You've got all the straps that have to come around. It's a 5-strap harness. You have to get the parachute, which is what you're seeing there. Randy has the close one, and Drew has the far one. You got the parachute straps that are waiting for you. The parachute's already in the seat when you get in. They put those over the side and they connect those in. You'll see a real good shot of that right here. You'll see them connected into the straps that Chris is already into, that he came in with his chest strap and everything. So that gets connected there, and they're essentially doing all these connections to make sure he's nice and snug in there and all ready to go. So you talk about the 2 guys in there. Drew is this would be his 11th mission. I'm trying to remember Randy. And this is Randy's first one as the number 2. So this is the first time he's actually inside the vehicle doing this setup here. So I'm sure he's having a lot of fun.
And this looks like Doug Hurley.
Yes, it'd be Doug Hurley going in, Marine Colonel. He is flying as the pilot on this flight. This is his 2nd flight. Flew a few years ago on 127. And he's being helped there. You can see the guys out in the white room to get everybody ready to go. Number 4 there is Renee Arians. He's another longtime member. And by the way, all the guys that we've talked about so far are USA employees, other than Randy Brezhnik, of course, who's the astronaut. But Renee has been with the United Space Alliance for a long time, 27 years in the space program. He's been for 40 launches, and he's just doing a great job for us. He's been the OVCC. He's actually had Travis Thompson's job. Travis is number 1. There's only about 3 or 4 people that are qualified to do that job at any one time, and Renee is another one, but in this flight he's actually filling the number 4 role. And so he does a great job with it. He's going to be the hatch technician when they close the hatch and take care of all that stuff.
Now, you mentioned Randy Brezhnik. He's the ASP, right? Astronaut Support Person.
Yep, it's called Astronaut Support Person, yeah.
When does he get on board? He gets on fairly early, doesn't he?
He does. He comes out and gets everything prepared inside the crew cockpit before the crew gets out there and make sure that all their gear is in place. There's a lot of things they don't bring with them. They don't carry out with them that we take out for them. And I did this job quite a while ago, and there's a lot of things you take out there, get ready. You essentially triple check the cockpit to make sure everything's in place. So he's like the first one that gets in the vehicle out there, as well as the number 3 to try to get things ready. So he's out there before just to, like I say, triple check, make sure everything's good to go.
What have the crew's activities been like since they got here in the last couple of days?
There's a lot of briefings when they get in town, weather, technical stuff that's going on with the shuttle, making sure everything's okay, which so far everything's going well. You can see the thumbs up there from Chris as he's getting strapped in. And hopefully what we try to get him is a lot of rest and relaxation time. Last chance to see their spouses. They can see their kids from a distance. because they're in quarantine for the last week. So kind of a last chance to see the ones closest to them and get some time to relax. And we really beat crews up sometimes in training before they get to flight. And we try to get them down here to the Cape and essentially get a few days where they don't have much to do so that they can relax, get a little bit extra sleep. We allow them to sleep a little bit extra. And also there's the time shift. If there's any remaining shift that they have to do to get to the correct work day for the space station and the shuttle when they're connected, they do that. So they've been doing a little bit of sleep shifting as well.
So when did they have to start sleep shifting for today?
It depends. We normally start our sleep shifts about 7 days prior, but these guys don't have a huge sleep shift. They'll be going to bed tonight. I can't remember the exact time, but it's around like 8 o'clock tonight, so it's not a big shift for these guys. It's a huge deal if you happen to be one of those flights that your day is exactly opposite, that you're getting up and going to work in the middle of the night and sleeping all day. So for this crew, it hasn't been too bad. They only had a couple hours to sleep shift, so it hasn't been a big deal. But in general, we'll start at about 7 days ahead of time while they're actually still at Johnson Space Center.
Well, I guess it's good they have a little bit of time to launch into space more relaxed, because when they're here for the countdown dress rehearsal, the TCDT, it seems like every minute is filled with things that they have to do.
Absolutely, and there's a reason we do that. For the Terminal Countdown Demonstration Test, TCDT, when they come out, we actually have, through the years, taken many things off of the launch flow and moved them into that flow, so they didn't have to do so many things before launch. It used to be that launch was as packed as that, and we just learned that, especially with post-Columbia, the crews have so much to do on flight day 1 and flight day 2 with the inspections and everything else that it's just critical that we send them up there relaxed and with a little bit extra sleep. So we've really tried to scrub the launch timeline to take out anything that's unnecessary. So what we're left with is practice STA flights, shuttle training aircraft flights for the pilot and commander, some briefings that they have to do. The crew will normally go out and check out all their computer lines that are set up. It's called the pre-wiring, that they set up all their computers and cameras and things like that. They go out and check that. But other than that, we try to give them free time. You can see Drew there working with Chris Fergie's communication gear. That's the white line that's coming down. It's actually from the back of the helmet that connects into the system, but that's the line that communication comes through. So you see that wraps around a couple times. And the black piece of gear we call the hot dog there, that's the quick disconnect. Everything that he's being strapped into the shuttle with has a quick disconnect things. Instead of having to tightly undo things, everything just take apart in case they would have to get out. If there's some kind of emergency at the pad and instead of launching, they're going to have to get out, there's a bunch of quick disconnects you pull, so they can just, for Chris, he would roll to his right, drop down on the MS2 seat, which Drew, or not Drew, but Randy Brezhnik is kind of on over there on the left. He would drop down on the seat down there and then get out of the vehicle. So that's part of the reason why it takes so long, is because everything's an intricate thing. You don't want anything to be tangled up. You don't want anything that can slow the crew member down if they need to get out of the vehicle. So,
well, if I can fast forward 12 days after the shuttle lands, who helps them get out? Do they do this themselves, or does somebody help them get out of their seats, or how does that work?
When they land, we actually have folks that will go in and help them out if they need it. But most of the time, by the time you get the hatch open, because you have to do all the external checks, make sure the vehicle's safe, we're not leaking any hazardous gases or things like that. By the time they've done everything and get in the vehicle, usually the guys are unstrapped and pretty much they've already got their helmets off, and launch specialists behind them. They'll stack them all on the flight deck, kind of get in at the end of the flight. They'll come up